In this episode, Chris Casey turns 50. My best friend and co-creator Mike Davis and I sit down to record Two American Friends Part 2. I'm Chris Casey, and this is Sea to Shining Sea. Welcome back to Sea to Shining Sea. I'm Chris Casey, and this week I am back where I was last fall, back in my home state of Iowa. Yes, Field of Dreams is this heaven. No, it's Iowa, and it's actually a very, very nice day here in Iowa. Why am I back here? Well, I've kind of reached a milestone. It's my 50th birthday, and I'm celebrating with my best friends. I'm actually with one of my best friends. You guys met him a few episodes ago. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, how we doing, Chris?
You guys might remember Two American Friends, where Mike, my co-creator of this wonderful podcast, which we now have over 500 downloads, man. That's awesome.
That's great.
And it's nationwide. I'm on a nationwide and worldwide, I should say. Shout out to, we have people in Germany now, and Belgium, and France. And of course, our friends in the UK. Cheers to you. And just so you know, we are imbibing in some barley pops, as you would call it.
Yep.
But we have a fun episode planned today. Two American Friends, the sequel, or as what did you call it?
Part deux.
Part deux, or deux.
I took French, but it's more duh.
Duh more fits us, yes. So what we're going to do, Mike's actually going to kind of be the moderator since it's my birthday, and big shout out to Mike and his family for having me back and everything they're doing this weekend. I can't wait to see everybody. We're going to have a little shindig later. The good Lord has given us great weather. I actually brought it from North Carolina. At least I try to make that.
We appreciate
assumption. So we're gonna pose questions similar to our last one. Mike found an awesome list of life interview questions. And we're going to go through our childhood, our adulthood, a little bit about our own identity, and then the present and aging, life lessons and legacies. So with that, Mike, would you like to get started, bud?
I would love to get started.
Awesome.
So, Chris, tell me, what year were you born?
I was born in the year of our Lord, 1971.
Okay. So you do your math, you go, well, that's another zero birthday.
That is another zero, yes.
So on the day you were born, did your parents ever tell you like any crazy stories or anything that happened that day?
Not that I can remember. I know the pictures of me being born were in black and white. So,
is that where they had the guy with the big hood and the big thing goes poof?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, Mike is a little younger than I am.
Yep.
Not by much, but yeah.
I just turned 44 a couple weeks ago, so.
Happy birthday, Mike. We'll have to have another toast for you later.
We will do that. So, where were you born?
In the beautiful city of Burlington, Iowa, on the banks of the Mississippi.
Okay. I was just born across the river, Carthage, Illinois.
Carthage, Illinois, yes.
So,
Midwestern natives, amen.
Absolutely. So, how about, what neighborhood did you grow up in? What did it look like?
It was your typical American neighborhood. Sadly, it's changed from what it was when I was a kid. I had a school across the street from me, which is a school I went to, an elementary school. I had an empty lot that we played baseball in. This was the 70s and 80s, and we didn't have the element of our society today that had kind of, at least this town, and I don't mean to bring the town down, but the neighborhood I lived in is not thriving like it was when I was a kid. Yeah. But it was your typical 1980s American city. Yeah. You know, we did whatever we could to play around, the kids in the neighborhood and had a good time.
Awesome. So, well, I grew up outside of Hamilton, Illinois, so a little town about 3,000 people, but I was actually 8 miles north of town, so out in the country.
That's awesome, man.
So closest neighbor was, 3-4 telephone poles away.
Yes.
But the cool thing was I had my best friend lived 1 mile and 1/10 away. I had a cousin live 3 miles away. So same thing back in the 80s and whatever. You just go, it's a 5-minute bike ride.
Yes. Bike ride. Oh yeah, man. I drove the wheels off my bike. And then we'd eventually, take our bikes and try to ramp them and do things with them and wheelies. And...
So my neighborhood was growing up in the country, and so I had a pond like literally 50 foot from my house. I had the woods right there, so I was always entertained with something that was later video games, but for then it was just go outside and do something.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, your toys, your favorite toys growing up were being outside,
Yeah.
And you know what's funny, as you mentioned that, my retirement plan is living in the country, away from everybody.
Oh yeah.
That's my retirement plan. I know we're skipping to the end of life, but that's where I want to end up, is where you grew up.
That sounds solid. Well, my retirement age, the Social Security statement said death plus 20. So we'll see what happens there.
Nice.
So what were your parents like?
My parents were your typical mom and dad. I was the oldest of 5, so they had their hands full. Dad and mom both worked. My mom, I just recently lost last October, actually, when we recorded the last episode. And I've been doing my best to take care of Dad from afar. But they were just solid blue-collar parents that raised 5 great kids.
Awesome. My mom was a teacher, and so she didn't start teaching until my younger sister went to first grade. But she taught high school special ed. So if you want to talk about heroes, she was just awesome. And my dad was a lifelong guy that worked in a factory. He was a maintenance guy, so another one of my role models because he could fix anything.
Yes, jack of all trades.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So between your mom and dad, which one was the more strict, or who could you get away with stuff with?
Dad was more strict. It was the days of the belt, man. Yep. And you don't want your dad to be upset or pissed off when he came home, or, he's already working whatever he's doing. And then, my dad was blue collar, worked in the grocery business for a long time, and then worked for our local ammunition plant. And but mom wasn't the easiest to get away with stuff either, but she was usually less lethal. There's the word I'm looking for.
So my dad worked a lot of midnights, and so it wasn't one of those wait till your dad gets home.
Yeah.
So it was. I will just say it this way: there's a lot of things I should have got that I did not deserve. There was a few I didn't deserve at that moment in time, but in the grand scheme of things, me and my sister turned out well.
Yes.
I couldn't appreciate that anymore.
That's wonderful.
So, growing up, both my parents were heroes, but did you have any heroes or role models as a kid?
I always looked up to my grandpa, which is my dad's dad. He was in the Marine Corps. Dad was in the Navy. A lot of my life, and I think we'll talk about that here in a little bit, was settled down and made the way it is through my time in the military.
Sure.
And I always had the utmost respect for my grandpa, and he what he did in life, and I always kind of wanted to have what he had, and be solid like that. So, plus he had my grandma, which she was a Spitfire, a pistol, and God bless him. And I kind of have that at home now too, and it's kind of funny. It's how life imitates life.
Absolutely.
So
for me, one of my role models was definitely my grandpa Sewell, my mom's dad, and lifelong farmer, church elder, hardworking guy, raised 4 kids on, just did well with what he had.
Right.
And so it was just awesome. He was actually in World War II, drove a wrecker and followed Patton.
Yes, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
you wanted to have an MRE with him.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Awesome, man.
So you talked about your different family, what they did. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I've actually talked about this in a previous episode. I wanted to be a fireman after watching Emergency. And as I was like a 3-year-old with my little, I do remember vividly, I had a little toy fire truck steering wheel and had a little gear shift and a little siren. I remember playing with that and watching Emergency when I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Driving along with the guys?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I still remember that to this day. And it's awesome that back in 1996, I got a chance to, for 10 years, live that, and then realized it was a young man's game. But, I talked about that before. Right. But I have some other aspirations now. Kind of doing it right now. Talking on my own little podcast. I've done a little radio, a little sports announcing. I would love to get back into that. But, it's funny how life is like that, And I truly think that my voice and the stuff I do really for fun, just because I like doing it, is a gift from God.
Absolutely.
So, and I figure that He'll open a door when it's time. I don't want to force that door open.
Yep.
And that's how that's kind of how I live life, man. Take it how the good Lord gives it to me and
can't be lazy.
Accept it. No.
Can't be lazy. You got to work and hustle, but
right.
Make your own. But yeah, God provides.
Absolutely.
Well, I wanted to be a farmer. My grandpa's a farmer. He lived out in the country. I lived out in the country. I wanted to farm. And I just knew as I got older into high school that it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of land. And it was just, unfortunately.
Yes.
But now that I live in town, even though I have a just lot, it is full of flowers and trees.
Yes.
And garden. It is, every square inch is maximized. So.
Well, you're farming something else too.
Yeah.
That we're going to abide later.
Little winemaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is a winemaker connoisseur. He's so I see a Mike Davis winery in the future. So get your orders ready. He'll fill them, trust me.
We're doing it. So. So when you were a teenager, what did you do for fun?
Oh, man. Teenagers today would have no idea what we did. You got your first car when you were 16, right?
Right.
And then we would cruise. Yes, I'm talking like American Graffiti type cruising for those of that age. Or, if anybody knows what cruising is, you get in your car, play your music, go hang out with your friends. I don't even know if kids today know what the hell that is.
Put on 200 miles and go nowhere.
We have a park in town that there used to be hundreds of us kids every Friday and Saturday night just parked in there, music turned up, and everybody hanging out and having a good time. And I don't even know. I think if you try to get 300 kids together here, they'd all be on their phones. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and not tearing stuff up, but just hanging out.
There was no cell phones, guys. We actually talked. We had face-to-face conversations. We'd throw the football around. We'd throw the Frisbee around. We'd play music, just do whatever, other things.
Yeah, so it was the same thing for me. As a teenager, you hang out with your friends until you get your license. You do sleepovers and hang out, whatever else. But once you get the car, it didn't matter how junky and rusty, as long as it ran good enough.
Game on.
But same thing, we would cruise and always end up at the same, half dozen spots, and that's just what you did.
Exactly.
So what time do you have to be home at night?
Well, when I was a kid and I was playing around it was usually when the street light came on or mom and dad would holler and he came in. And then when I got to be older, it was like 11 and then midnight, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was literally, Chris! Anyway.
So growing up in the country, we actually had a dinner bell.
Nice.
And so if I was at the neighbor's, which was like a grandma to me, or out in the woods, mom would ring the dinner bell. I could be like a mile away and literally hear it. So I would be home in 5 to 20 minutes because it may be a mile over hills and stuff. So
right. Well, that's awesome.
It was
that.
Great. So you said driving. What was your first car?
My first car was a 1973 Oldsmobile Omega. I bought it for $100.
Sweet. About 3 mile a gallon?
Yeah, it was a 350.
3 gallons a mile?
I had some damage on it, but you know what? It was a car. It rolled. My second car was a truck, and that's probably one of my favorite of all time, a 1969 Chevy pickup.
Oh, awesome.
Wish
beautiful.
I still had it today, man.
And for $40,000 you can buy it off Bear Jackson.
Yeah. Bear Jackson or Meekum Auto Auctions.
Yeah.
What was yours?
My first car was that 86 Grand Am.
Nice.
Sunroof. It was all right.
86 Grand Am.
By the time I added some speakers to it and,
well, yeah.
shake off the mirror.
Come on, man.
It worked out well. It was a fun car.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, back in the day. I remember taking some speakers from a home stereo I got like at a garage sale and wired them into my truck.
Better than nothing.
Jamming to Foreigner, I think. Jukebox Hero. Anyway. Oh, geez, Louise.
Well, so that kind of wraps up the childhood section.
Yeah.
But
are we ever grown up? Are we ever adults?
As we age, that kind of gets us into the...
You asked that earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, into the adulthood section. So I know the answer, but tell them, did you serve in the military?
You're damn right I did. The United States Air Force from 1989 to 1996. And those of you who've listened to my first episode, when I paid tribute to veterans like my grandfather and my dad and some other friends that I have. That that's one of the most proudest things in my life that I've done.
And I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I come from a large military family. I knew I wanted to go into physical therapy. My dad was in the Marines in Vietnam. The cards didn't play out for the career path I wanted. Regret it some, but I love what I do, and I've been doing physical therapy for 20 years, so it must have worked out okay. So
I'll make sure you tell your dad I said thanks for his service.
I will.
And as I learned from my grandpa, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. That's how that goes.
Semper Fi.
Yep. So I know your lovely wife, but
yes,
how did you meet that lovely wife of yours?
Oh well, it's a story that gets told 10 different ways, but we were actually both working in the same location and different. We were both working in the mall here, local mall, and I was in a store and she was working for the mall, and she would come in to visit one of the people that worked there, and I got to talking to her, and a few years later we decided to start dating, and that was about 7 years ago. Her version is totally different, but
perception,
the same result ended up. I always point at my finger on my left hand saying, how did that end? How did this story end? And then she just gives me a look. And you know the look.
Half empty or half full, you did well.
Exactly.
Well, I met my lovely bride 21 years ago. I was
That's awesome, dude.
Very happily single, playing cards with the boys, and this knockout just walks in, and there you go. So,
exactly.
Married 17 years and 2 kids later, there you go.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. And I'll tell you what, I hope to be, we just recently got married back in 2019.
Yep.
Yes, which you were my best man.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Married on the beautiful beaches in North Carolina at Ocean Isle Beach. If you're listening and you want to go to a beach that's really not touristy.
Yeah.
And mind you, it's not a Florida beach. It's not like a pretty, pristine, clear water beach. It's going to be, it's murky, but it's beautiful. And it's serene. And it's just, if you just want, the North Carolina coast is gorgeous. So if you're ever in North Carolina, I recommend at least hitting the beach once, just to take it in. It just makes you feel, that's one reason we went there. We just loved the, how beautiful it was, how serene it was. And incidentally, as we're talking about my wedding, anybody who's listening to this podcast will see the beach in question right there on my Sea to Shining Sea card page, whatever. So,
logo.
Yes. So there's full circle, man. That's where I got married, and she's my best friend. I love her to pieces. I miss her because she didn't make the trip with me, but I'll see her tomorrow. But yeah, she is my best friend, and we make a pretty damn good team together.
That's a powerhouse. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what do you got for kiddos?
I got a group. I have 2 beautiful daughters, and one of them is a nurse. The other one's in college studying to be a middle school teacher. So a couple of hardworking young women that hopefully I've helped instill that work ethic, as I myself am a hard worker. And then I have 2 other beautiful stepdaughters. One that is graduated college. The other one who's a freshman in high school. And then a stepson who is as big as I am and could play football if he wanted to. He's my buddy. We do stuff around the house, and he helps me out working on stuff in the garage. And then, but he's 14. He's 14.
Yep.
So no little ones. Thank the Lord, because I'm 50 and I don't need any more little ones. If it's going to be a little one, I want to be a grandpa, and y'all could take them home. So,
or have a nephew and just pass them on. Yeah. Well, I have a daughter that's a freshman in high school, so 15 and a half. So it's nice to have that extra driver in the house. Kind of nice. And then I have a son that's in 6th grade, so it's pretty awesome. But
I tell you what, man, there is nothing like being a dad. That is the greatest feeling in the world. That is, and to me, it comes so naturally. I don't know. I think to you the same way.
Oh, same way.
So
do you think the girls are like you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I think that even though, I came into their life late, I try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Influence or
mentor,
guide.
Or
guide them in the right direction, and try to be kind and humble and to not take for granted what they have in life. And the biggest thing is the work ethic. I think a great work ethic, something our society is really flushed down the toilet, man.
Lacking.
I mean, terribly. And I try to do my part in my circle of life to keep my people around me, working as hard as I can.
Every day I work in a nursing home, and I work with the greatest generation. It's just not
Absolutely.
a name. It is it's that for a reason.
Absolutely.
I have a couple of World War II vets that I see every single day. And so the tidbits of information I get to steal from them, I get the pleasure and the privilege to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I try to instill that into my life, into my family's life.
Awesome.
With doing stuff with my school district and my church. I try to pass on those kids because the grit that our kids have now is not what it was from 2 generations back. Nowhere
Not
near.
at all. Not at all. And while it's great to make the kids feel good, I think we need to
Not take another trophy,
right,
another ribbon.
push them out of the nest a little bit and let them fly. Because most of the time, they surprise themselves.
But we create these safe little bubbles where everybody just, thanks for showing up and good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that kind of takes care of the kids and stuff, but what do you think about, do you have any little goofy sayings or expressions that drives your wife crazy that you want to say?
Yes. Probably the biggest one. My brother always used to say, love, peace, and chicken grease, or just some crazy shit like that. But the one that I like to really get her going is she'll say something and, like, oh, you didn't do this. And I'll say, yep. That's the story. And then she now I got her finishing my sentence. So
That sounds like an 80s sitcom hook line.
Actually, it came from a John Wayne movie, McClintock. And there was a line where he's fighting with his wife at the time. They're battling back and forth. And she said something. He goes, yep, that's the story. And that stuck with me ever since. And it's funny. It's funny because I always say it. But what about you?
So, no really special sayings, but I have a little anecdote or something to relate something to something every single time, so I can't even give an example, but I have a little, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, please. It just makes things so much easier.
Cut the bullshit.
Yeah. Pitter patter, let's get at her.
Oh, yes.
So, thinking about 50 years of life, what's maybe like 1, 2, 3 of the biggest things that ever happened in your life, whether it be a news story or things that happened to you personally? Just kind of 3 big things.
Getting inducted in the United States Air Force, I have to say that was pretty freaking huge. The birth of my children and marrying my wife. Those are probably the 3 most important things in my life that have happened. But, I mean, I've lived through... Talk about news stories.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Because I'm a media guy kind of thing. But the Challenger in 1987.
Yep.
I was in drafting class and watched it on TV.
I remember watching that happen.
Mm-hmm. That I remember. I remember when Reagan got shot in 1980. That was kind of the same thing. And 9/11.
Oh.
I talk about that a little bit on my podcast about firefighting, being a firefighter during 9/11 and watching it live unfold on like the Today Show, and how kids today will have no idea how important that day was, how tragic that day was. And I have a DVD of a documentary where I'm sure you've seen it or heard it, where they're inside building 2, Tower 2, and they're thump, 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 thump. It's people jumping, hitting the ceiling or hitting the roof.
Yeah.
And it's
eerie.
It's very eerie. It's very eerie. But yeah, that'll be a day. That's on my bucket list to go to that site where they've erected a monument. The big fountain and whatever. But yeah, I would say taking a look at my life and then I actually had one of my best friends growing up. Rich Estes was his name. He lived in Danville, Iowa. And he passed away a year after that. And we were we weren't texting, but we had called each other a couple times he was a firefighter, and we were talking about that. And I talked about that at his funeral. that I share that bond with him, that we were talking back and forth that day.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's pretty big stuff.
Yeah. So, got serious. I need a drink.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the biggest things in life, just the big milestones, marriage and kids. I mean, just
amen, brother. Amen.
Maybe securing that first real job.
That's not a bad deal.
That was pretty good too. So
that's not a bad deal.
Anyway,
what about your first beer?
at
10 years old. Oh.
So
sipping on an old style.
So this question says, you win $1 million tomorrow. That's not big money, really. You win $300 million tonight on Powerball. What are you doing with it?
I'm buying a house in the mountains and going to name it Chris Casey's Big Ass Mountain Party Bar.
Yeah. With a moat and gators?
Yeah. No, see, I would find a couple places to build homes. I would probably own my own media corporation or radio station, or I would invest it into something I love, be hands-on. I would help all my family, my children, friends, make everybody a part of my world that is already there, and just see where the Lord leads me, really. I mean, I wouldn't just blow it all. I'd probably invest 3/4 of it and spend the rest. So,
absolutely.
What about you, big dog?
Well, 2020 was an interesting year, even though I was a essential healthcare worker. My W-2 said I only worked about a third of a year.
Jesus, 2022 can kiss my ass.
So
2020 can kiss my ass.
So, I had all the time in the world, but when you only have limited resources, it gave me some good time to focus on projects of passion. So, spending time with my church in different ways, spending time with my family and my friends. So I know who's in my phone. I know who I talk to on a regular basis. So, my regular cell phone will disappear, and the big global phones you see on every spy movie, I'll be having one of those. So if I
with a retina.
Oh, yeah. So if I hit the lottery, you will know it or you will not. Yep. It's real simple.
Where's Mike? I don't know.
I will change my name to Chris Casey, and we'll be moving on. But no,
they'll be part of CKC Media.
CKC Nation. There is so many things that you can do with your time and energy and efforts. And even though I invest my time and effort towards my residents, I love my wonderful nursing home.
Yes.
There's tons of things I would love to do.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, and help out with, and I would definitely get down on my knees and pray to God, what should I do with this?
Right.
I mean, that's where it all starts.
Oh, yeah, it's all a gift no matter what you have or you don't have.
Exactly.
Well, so that kind of segues right into, if you had unlimited money, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Nothing.
Or this.
All right, so talking about getting older, the older you get, everybody, the more you hope for a day where there's actually nothing to do, no errands to run, no work, no just sitting or walking or just doing something you enjoy, like today.
Yeah.
I'm doing a podcast. This is I love having this and drinking beer.
Had a nice breakfast this morning.
We had a nice breakfast.
With a buddy.
I think the older you get, the less busy you have to be. I think I sent you a meme or something that said, you realize when you're an adult that having absolutely nothing to do is the greatest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
So it's, I think, because our society is such a busy society. We always got to be doing something. There's always something to do, but I think mentally, physically, it's better if you have that time to recharge, I took a nap this afternoon. Man, I feel like $1 million now.
Ready for a fun evening. So
a fun evening, yes. We're gonna try the touch of the grape from the Mike Davis Winery.
Yeah. Well,
what about you, brother?
Society thinks the busier you are, the better things are, and we lead a very busy life. But if you make my Google Calendar, it is big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that I could be doing, but if I don't want to, I don't show up. I just say no. So, what I do for fun? I spend time with my friends and family. If we
absolutely
go out and do something, if there's a band playing or a comedian or whatever, we are the fun. We are the entertainment.
Absolutely.
It's just that's a venue to go do it at.
Absolutely.
So this next week we start sand volleyball for the year.
Didn't you mention that yesterday? You talked about us being the entertainment no matter what.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter.
You go to be entertained, and then we be, we're
it.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, it didn't take much. But for fun, just hang out. It's okay.
Yes. Enjoy friends and family. Life is too damn short, something I've learned over the last year. And cherish every moment you have together.
Well, and so it's kind of like, who do you trust and who do you depend on?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of the next question. Who do you trust? Who do you depend on?
Mm-hmm. Friends and family,
for
the most part. I mean, we all have, I call it the circle, or
group,
or the hand. You
Yep.
know, how many out of the 5 people you can call at a drop of a hat. The older you get, that tends to shrink.
Yep.
The one person I do trust is the great Lord above.
Absolutely.
So that's where I have the most trust.
How people think they get by?
Yes.
Good luck and whatever.
Yes. Everybody needs Jesus.
And some more than others.
Yes.
No. So what are some things that are like important to you right now?
Health and happiness. Top of my making sure everybody's healthy, not just me. Me, of course, but whether it be my kids, my wife, family, friends, making sure nobody's struggling, and if I could help them. I'm a helper. I'm a fixer. That's my job.
That's
I'm
a guy
fixer.
thing. Yep.
I'm a fixer. How can I help? And sometimes they don't want help. You just kind of got to do what as soon as they say, hey, okay, I'm right there. So
that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's kind of bridging the gap between the cool people I get to work with every single day,
mm-hmm.
knowing my 20 years of experience, my passion is what I want to do, and just trying to pass it on and really just show that love, that passion, and some skill mixed in there. So trying to pass on that wealth of information.
That's wonderful, man. That is wonderful.
That's kind of what we're shooting on for. But
mm-hmm.
So you kind of mentioned this is kind of a zero birthday. So whichever one it was. So 50 used to be kind of a different milestone when you look back as being a kid.
Right.
But how do you feel now about growing old or growing older? Or
I think I try to do it with dignity and be like wine, wink, wink. You get the 30's a new 20, 30's a new 20, 40's a new 30, 50's a new 40. Age is just a number. I mean, we're all damn kids, even though we're 50.
Yeah.
It just, the older you get, the more decisions you got to make, so on and so forth. I think I'm enjoying it. My 40s were great. I thought I met the love of my life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happen in my 40s, but I'm looking forward to the 50s. I'm looking forward, living in Carolina and loving life down there and just seeing what the future holds for me down there.
Yeah.
And who knows, Chris Casey, where that is going to go, So the future's there. I don't think I'm on the back end of my life. I think I'm right in the middle, and the good Lord willing, the older we get, the better medical technology gets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's through better science. But for me, I mean, teenage years, we got through them.
Yep.
They were good, but we got through them. 20s, you learn just a ton of stuff about everything. 30s, you kind of start to figure some things out. I'm loving my 40s. Man, this is great.
Yeah.
I am blessed with a maternal grandma that's 94.
Awesome.
Zero medication, lives on the farm. She's awesome. And so I know I may be around for a long time, so I'm kind of like trying to...
For good stock, right?
Yeah, it just means don't screw it up early on because you may live a long time.
We're old enough to know better and still too young to care. I think that's a song.
Or it'd be a good song. So, being the age we are now, what do you look forward to?
Waking up every morning.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds funny, but when you've had some health issues that have kind of stared you in the face, and no, Chris Casey's not going away, and no, I'm not like super sick or anything, but you get to an age and have some health issues, and you kind of got to be, what's self-deprecating? Would that be the word I'm looking for?
That's probably a good one.
That when you wake up in the morning, and I tell my wife this, I say, she goes, how you doing this morning? I said, I'm upright, not taking a dirt nap.
Yeah.
And she goes, you're silly. I said, I'm just being real, So, At this age, there's people I went to high school with that have passed away. There's people that I know that are younger than me that passed away. And it was either sudden or all of a sudden, and take every day for what it's worth. I mean, really.
So, every day is a blessing. We are not promised or guaranteed a single thing.
Absolutely.
For me, probably one of the biggest things is, being a guy, we're not real big on the emotion things, but try to make sure that I tell people thank you for whatever that small thing is. And tell everybody, I love you. And I appreciate you for what you are, no matter what that thing is. But I love you no matter what, because we're not promised or guaranteed.
I tell my wife every day she makes dinner, and she probably thinks I'm silly. But I try to never take anything for granted in life, ever.
Well, I work in a nursing home, and so what I tell my residents, they may be 70, 80, 90. We had a gal that was 106. Yeah. I'm at a higher risk of being in the obituaries as I drive 20 miles to work, and I do whatever else. They're in a recliner. It may or may not happen. Yeah. So we're not promised or guaranteed anything. So
that's a good point of view, man.
So I just try to make sure I tell everybody, thank you for whatever it is, no matter if it's just bringing me a burger or, I love you, but, it means a lot. So
to everyone listening, thank you so much for downloading and listening to Sea to Shining Sea with Chris Casey. So there's a shameless plug.
There you go.
I am trying to be gracious. Every episode before I get started, I try to give a shout out.
And that's great. So, as we kind of start to wrap up, this kind of gets us into the last section of life lessons and legacies.
Legacies.
This is kind of, for our great-grandkids and whatever else, or just anybody listening, no matter where in the world you are, it's kind of, what do you want people to know about you and your experiences and the things you've done and seen? It's kind of like, what do you want to pass on to others? So, I guess kind of the first question would be, what have been the most influential experiences in your life?
Probably the biggest one I'm going to tell you is my time in the Air Force. My time in the Air Force made me the man I am today. Made me the fixer, maybe the great guy, maybe the guy to always call. I want to be the happy-go-lucky, laid-back grandpa, dad, hardworking, whatever, all those adjectives could use. That when they lay me to rest, everybody's going to celebrate and enjoy that I was a part of their life. Kind of like the movie "It's a Wonderful Life." Yeah. George Bailey thought he had a bad time, but man, if he wasn't there, those people wouldn't have been there either. So, while that's a movie, there's a lot of truth to that.
Right.
Take what God gives you and do your best with it, and that's what I'm trying to do.
So, and I'm going to kind of take that in a slightly different direction, but it all ties together. So what's been one of the most influential experiences of my life? I think probably growing up through middle school and high school, going to suburb Bible camp. And, being in a little teeny tiny church of 25 people, you don't get much exposure to much stuff. But when you go to a church camp with 100 people, you start seeing things. And so, once that world kind of expands and you kind of go, oh, that was all right. So, getting baptized my junior in high school in a lake, you kind of that kind of set a different career path on how you kind of move forward with things.
That's wonderful, man.
But it's the same thing. We're all blessed, and to get where we are, no matter how crazy or how wild the journey is.
Yes,
that
absolutely
kind of takes us there. So, over time, how have you changed the way you look at kind of life and people? This is going to be a fun.
Oh my God. Okay. So, knowing what I've done for a living, not only being in the military, but I was a correctional officer in a state prison for 12 and a half years, being a firefighter for 10 years. I've seen the worst of this society. I've seen things that would make your skin crawl, make you throw up. I've stared a guy who's been in prison for life and murdered his family. I mean, I've been in contact with people that are evil, straight evil. So this isn't a movie. This is not anything you see on TV. It's all made up kind of stuff. But in real life, I've been around those people, and I've been around situations in the fire department where this was, somebody had passed away. Things that you're numb to the fact when it's happening, but after the fact, you see the world in a different shade of glasses.
Yeah.
I make jokes of it just because if you want to sit there and get depressed about it, you could.
That's a coping mechanism.
Not me. And then it's only something you could talk to other people who've served with you. It's one of those things. And you probably being in the healthcare business, very similar.
Oh, man.
Similar type of, while it's not as deep or whatever, but...
Oh, we see some stuff too.
And I think you see the world different colored glasses. It's not as rainbows and unicorns as people think. You try to make your world around you as best as you possibly can and not let the evil in this world get it to be a part of you, So that's me.
Yep.
That's me, and that's how I view the world.
So for me, the older I get, the less I watch the news.
I don't watch the news anymore.
No.
I don't.
I keep myself aware of, I read the newspaper headlines, and I know what's going on, but I don't go down that rabbit hole.
Nope.
I know if I had to say one thing about what have I learned about life to this point in time, blessed. Real simple.
Amen, brother.
And so what I know is that when you see what looks like the perfect family with the perfect situation, you just go, boy, I envy them. A lot of times they have more struggles than whatever else.
Envy is that's not a good optic.
So when I just go, just be grateful, be humble, whatever you have, and
absolutely,
and show people love, because you have no idea what happened in their morning. Their day must be just maybe going rough.
Right.
So, so I guess when I look at
always be kind,
and so that's kind of my thing. I guess how my view of life has changed. Of nobody's perfect, nobody has a perfect life. We're all blessed with what we have, no matter how much we do or we don't have, and just be thankful for what that really is. So, I guess I got kind of just one more, just kind of final question for you. And so,
alrighty,
this is a legacy thing. So,
a legacy.
So, we're in a digital age. This podcast is going to go on forever and ever and ever.
Yes. Let's hope so.
So, what would you like your children or your grandchildren or great grandchildren to remember about you?
That I was kind and loving and gentle and always there for them. That I could be the rock that they can lean on. Be Superman and hold them up. The shoulders to be there to hold them up.
Right.
For whatever they need. I am not about me at all. And you know that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm all about helping everybody else. And it's like this weekend. This is weird being here and everybody's coming for me. It's just not...
You're not the center of attention.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm usually the guy to help in the support team. So if I could be remembered as being a kind, gentle man who loved his family, who was the rock and held them together the best I could, and was always there. So that would be it, man.
And I would say almost just exactly the same thing. Solid, just dependable, loving, fair, hardworking, and just that good person.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I appreciate you, man, doing all your doing the moderations. If you're in your car, give Mike a big hand for stepping in, my co-creator, ladies and gentlemen. This was not it was fun. It was fun either way, and we kind of dug into some stuff, But when you're looking back at life over 50 years, you're gonna look back. We've all had ups and downs. We talked about who would play us in a life story.
Yeah,
remember?
Absolutely.
And what would it be? Would it be a comedy? Would it be
It's comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's no drama. It's comedy.
Mine's a road comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's a couple knuckleheads that aren't here. That. Oh yeah, maybe next time, part 3, part Deuce or Trace. Deuce. There we go. That's pretty much what it would be if we added a couple more people here.
Quattro.
A deuce show.
Yes, double deuce. Double deuce. Quattro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap things up. I'll tell you what, I think after this episode, I'm going to record, finally, dun dun dun, a baseball episode. A good friend of mine who played baseball for the App State Mountaineers in Boone, North Carolina.
Awesome.
He ended up having to leave baseball after an injury. But he's a good friend of mine today, and I think we're going to talk about our top 5 baseball movies.
Ooh,
one of my top 5 might have to do with Iowa, so I might have an obscure one in there too. But so top 5 baseball movies. I know everybody's listened to the top 5 football movies. It's one of my most downloaded episodes. So, we love our sports here. But thanks again, Mike, for the sequel.
Absolutely.
Part deux.
And part deux. So before we leave, I want to give a special birthday shout out to my buddy Sean. So in case you see my buddy Sean around, wish him a happy birthday also.
He has an awesome birthday then, if it's the same as mine. So.
I bet it is. So, all right, anyway, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. And just remember, have a great day, but a better tomorrow. I'm Chris Casey, and this is Sea to Shining Sea.